And part of Chuck's role as a junior high principal is to get to our elementary buildings, the feeder schools that go into Stillwater Junior High, and talk about 7th grade, life in Stillwater Junior High. It's part of that transition process. So Chuck, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. I would have told you that 3 years ago, prior to my kids entering kindergarten, I sometimes thought like, well, I didn't think as a parent, I thought as an educator, and I used to think to myself, are you kidding me? We don't eat your young. We really like kids and everything's okay. And then I realized once I put Joaquin on the bus to go to kindergarten, there's a whole different side of being a parent that we don't address very well at the junior high. So the last couple of years I've enjoyed coming out and letting you know, one, we don't eat junior high kids. And the 9th graders don't really, do so much with the 7th graders. But I'm going to share some stuff to hopefully put you at ease about sending your kids to the junior high. And just share some of the stuff that we've learned, some of the stuff that we're working on this year, and some of the stuff that we're going to continue to work on. So when you come to the registration night, which is usually in January, there's always a couple quotes that we throw up, and they're really quotes from parents that have said, hey, I've always appreciated the staff. I'm going to tell you, Derek, cover your ears and the staff members here, but I have a great staff. I always say I think I have the best staff in the district, which gets me into trouble when I talk to other groups, but I have a great staff. And they like kids. And when I say that, elementary folk always look at me like, duh. I just want you to know I came from the secondary, where not all secondary teachers love kids. They love their subject and they like kids. We have a junior high full of people who love kids, and it makes the transition of our junior high kids much easier, I think, coming into it. They also like their subject. But I would tell you, being from secondary and then having kids in elementary, and my wife's an elementary teacher, there is a difference between a secondary teacher who really loves their subject area, and they like kids. And when you talk to them, they say, yeah, I like kids, but I love math. Like, for me, I love social studies. And elementary teachers love kids. I mean, they really do. And I think we have a great balance at Stillwater Junior High. So the question that kids always say to me, is your building safe? Is it secure? Do the 9th graders, and I will tell you that we arranged Stillwater Junior High in a way that separates mostly the 7th and the 8th and 9th graders away from each other. There are some times when they cross in the hallway, but really it's in the beginning of the day, the end of the day, and for 2 periods during the day. The rest of it, they're on different cycles, and so there isn't a ton of crossing. The other thing I'm going to tell you is our lunch periods are all 7th grade lunches. We have 6 lunches at Stillwater Junior High, so your kid's going to start eating at about 10:10, which is it's kind of like brunch. But it's just 7th graders eating lunch, and then we have just an 8th grade lunch, and then we have just a 9th grade lunch, which is important because I think it puts people at ease. Really, the big question I always get from parents are, what are my kids going to take? They're going to take an English, a math, a science, a social studies. And then they have, really what's amazing at Stillwater, we take 9 subjects and we jam them into 6 periods in a day. And we kind of rotate it out. So they'll take a music class and a PE every other day. And then they have a semester of health, a quarter of art, and a quarter of Project Lead the Way design and modeling. And really what I'm really happy about is within the last couple of years we've added art, design and modeling, which is a STEM class, and music to really use the other side of the kids' brains. So I felt like we were kind of moving in this direction where it was all concrete, sequential. And now we're having the kids do art, we're having the kids do some stuff on the computer, we're having the kids do music. So there is one big thing that you're going to have to ask your kid about what they want to do. So let's talk really quick language arts. We have a bunch of different, I'll say language arts, math, and science are classes that we place the kids based on test scores leading up into more, entering the junior high. So a typical 7th grader either takes pre-algebra, algebra, or geometry based on their test scores, and we place them, just like with language arts, they're either in honors English, English 7, or strategic English and reading, and then science, it's life science or leap science. And again, those are classes that we place them in. I have a really easy time having a conversation with parents when they talk about classes, and how does my kid get into this class or not get into this class, or I want my kid, should be in pre-algebra, but we want them in algebra. I have no problem actually having a conversation with you about, let's meet your kid where they're at and have them be successful. Just like we do a reading skill building and a math skill building for those kids who are a year behind their peers to help them get caught up, and we've been pretty successful with that. A couple of years ago, we implemented these classes, and the parents came to me and just said, I don't want my kid in the reading skills building. And as a secondary person, and I was a dean at a high school before I came to Stillwater, I had hard conversations with parents about your kid not graduating because they didn't pass the basic skills testing for the state of Minnesota. It's much easier in 7th grade to say, I hear what you're saying, but let's see if we can't get them caught up here than waiting until they're a senior and having that conversation about not graduating, which is a very difficult conversation to have. So just know that we'll place them in those classes. So really the choice that I want you to start thinking about with your student, if you have a 6th grader this year coming to us, is what music course do you want to take? And parents, the feedback we've gotten from parents is we love this because we've spent all this money on the saxophone or the trumpet or the violin and the cello, and some of our kids say, I can't wait till I'm done with 6th grade because then I don't have to do this anymore. We say, no. You still have to do it. So the choices are boys choir, girls choir, orchestra, band, or a general music class. And what we find is we usually have about 20 kids who do general music because they don't want to sing, but most of our kids are heavily involved in the music classes. And so really the big question you ask your kid is, do you want to do choir, orchestra, or band? In Stillwater Junior High, we separate the choirs, the boys choir and the girls choir, and it's when you hear them sing, you actually know why. It makes a lot of sense. So that's the big question you have to ask your kid. Typical day at Stillwater Junior High is the first 20 minutes of every day we have advisory. And it is a smaller group of students, 20 to 22 kids, who meet with a teacher each and every day. And really for Monday and Tuesday when they start the school, it's homework help. Wednesday we do across all grades 7, 8, 9, it's a reading day. Thursday we have grade check day, so their advisory teacher sits down with them and looks over their grades to see where they're at, and Friday's an activity day. What's really good, really important to know is on the grade check day, so I have an advisory, I have 22 kids in my advisory class, and on Thursday when I check their grades and I notice that something's not going well in a class, I contact that teacher and I make sure that we line up Monday or Tuesday that they go in to get help, because those Monday and Tuesdays are really designed for the student to meet with the teacher who needs help. So we do split our 7th grade up into 2 teams, blue team and gold team, and something that you'll hear when you come to the registration night is I prefer you tell me right up front, right now, if there's a team like you have older siblings that have gone through and they've had a really good successful interactions with the blue team, that you tell us that up front, because it's really much easier for us to build. As we take that class that comes to us, because we have 8 schools that feed into us, we shift them all around, we really do shift them all around, and then we divide them, and we divide them based on what our needs are in classes. And so it's really easy if you guys say to me, hey, I have a great relationship with the blue team, I've had 3 kids who go through here, or so-and-so knows my kid from outside of school, doing that up front. Typically what happens and what makes it really difficult is in August we send this postcard out to the kids, and I know when the postcards have actually landed in the mailbox because Twitter goes crazy, as does Facebook. I mean, it just goes nuts, and all these kids start communicating with each other and say, hey, what team are you on? What team are you on? And then my phone lights up because, all of a sudden we need these kids on. My kid needs to be on another team. Be upfront and honest with us. It's so much easier to schedule the 350 kids knowing what our needs are instead of backloading it. So, and you'll hear me say this again in January on your registration guide. Write blue team, write gold team for me, and we will, do our best to honor that. So, the teams, what does that really mean? It means that they'll have the same science, social studies, and English teacher. And so those 3, it used to be math, but we're moving math off the team because we're trying to meet kids academically where they are. And so we've had to fluctuate, like we have more kids taking algebra this year than we've ever had before, and so you couldn't do an even team. So we're moving math off, but it's science, social studies, and English. And those teachers get together once a week to talk about the kids. So if Derek Berg is popping in my very interesting social studies class, I might say, is anyone else seeing something going on with Derek? And if there is, let's have a conversation with Derek. Maybe invite the parents in and have a conversation with Derek's parents. So it's not just me, worrying about Derek, but it's a whole team effort. So the two things that when you come in January you're going to hear from me is, what music do you want your kid to do? The second thing is it's a really important conversation to have with your kid. It's not what would you like to do after school, it's what are you going to do after school. Because we know that kids who are involved in after school activities are connected to school and tend to do better. So we have a ton of sports or athletics, and if your kid's not an athlete, we have a bunch of activities for them to do too. That range from math club. In fact, we have a math meet going on right now at our school. To stock market, to student government, to ski. I mean, there's just a whole range. So it's really about getting them involved. The other big thing that you'll hear me say is that 7th grade is the next big year. So in kindergarten, your kids had to have these shots in order to start school. The next time that reappears is 7th grade. And it is the state law that they have to have their boosters, their booster shots updated. So start planning on making sure that you get that done. Or if you don't do that, then we'll take what is that called? The conscientious objective form. But that is the big thing. Really what you need to know too is our counselors in January will come and meet with your kids to talk about all their activities. They'll get their sheet to bring home with you, and you're going to notice that there's really only one box for them to check. Because we already placed them in an art class, we already placed them in a Project Lead the Way class, so it's what music do you want your child to do. And then in April we have, it's called Friday Night Live, and it's where we open up the building and it's run through community education and where all the kids can come and check out the junior high. One of the biggest fears that I've heard from parents, and actually the kids don't mind it, is how big the junior high is. And once you actually get into the junior high, you realize that it's actually small, separate parts of the building. It's not a huge junior high. But when you pull up, you kind of look at it and you're like, holy moly, it looks huge. Because it's all flat and laid out on one floor. But Friday Night Live is a great time for your 6th grader to come and meet the kids from the other feeder schools, but they also learn, where the classrooms are. They learn how to open a locker, which is a big fear that our kids have. They get to see the swimming pool and the gym and stuff like that. And then in June, you will receive a letter from us electronically that says, hey, welcome to Stillwater Junior High. Here's some of the things that you need to know. What I'm going to tell you is our school's open all the time. And so if you have a 6th grader right now who's already getting anxious about coming to the junior high, I would say call us up, call up the counselors, and we'll schedule a walkthrough or an orientation for them to come in and kind of walk the building. Our building's open all summer long. One of the principals is always there, so it's open all summer long. So you're more than welcome to come and walk the building with your kid too. And then at the end of August, we have the scheduled pickup day, so they come and pick up their schedule, they get their picture taken, they get to walk the building again to make sure that they feel pretty good about it. And then usually we're open that Friday before Labor Day, just for 7th graders, again, to walk the building. So this year we had parents who came in with a stopwatch for their kid to let them know that they can make it to all of their classes in the 5 minutes that's allowed. So, and really the helpful hints that I have for you as parents are pretty much the same probably for all parents, but it's, make sure you provide your student a place to study. And I think one of the big things that we've discovered is our kids are coming to us from all these different feeder schools, and some have had homework, some have not. And it's this concept of homework that, catches some of our kids off guard. So just start talking about what's your plan of doing homework when you have it at the junior high. In our house at home, it's kind of amazing, but our 2nd grader in kindergarten or have homework every day, and so we have a plan for them. Where do you sit when you do your homework? It happens to be in the kitchen while I'm cooking so that I can try to help them, or my wife